Welcome to Irish Football Weekly. I'm one of the hosts, Josh Benjamin here. Our co-host, or my co-host, I should say, Tony Hunter, is also with us. He is a former tight end of the Irish back in the day in the late 70s, early 80s with a first-round draft pick by the Buffalo Bills. We're getting ready to talk about some Irish football, but before that, I just want to mention to all of our listeners out there, we have multiple medias on where you can listen to us, such as Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. We also have an app in the App Store if you have an iPhone, Grueling Truth. We're also on Google Music, and, of course, our website, thegruelingtruth.net. So a lot of medias, a lot of places you can listen, not just our show, but a lot of other shows that have some great insight. But I digest from that. I digress. I'm hungry. That's why I said digest. So we're going to move on. It's the end of the day. I'm ready to talk to Tony. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Josh. I just worked out and ready to talk some Notre Dame, Georgia football.
Well, good for you. Good. Hopefully you had a great workout, and I'm eager to talk about the Irish as well. So let's kind of rehash what happened last week. An awesome win by the Irish, a big win, and I think my prediction was the closest. I'm not going to brag or anything, Tony, but I'm going to throw it out there.
What was that final score? What was that final score again? What did we predict and the final score? What was all that?
What was so our predictions were? Let me pull it up here. Your prediction was 30-17. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And mine was 42-14, which was pretty close to the actual score, which was 49-16.
Oh yeah, we had an explosion offensively. It was good to see.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about the offense since you brought it up. They started out really hot. What are some of your thoughts on what happened with the Irish on the offensive line?
You know what? I have been pleasantly surprised by our running game. We had over 400 yards rushing, I believe, last week. I think Brandon Wimbush, the quarterback, he ended up rushing for over 100 yards. Josh Adams and Dexter Williams rushed for over 100 yards. I tell you what, if you can rush the football like that, you have a chance to beat anybody. And I think a big part of what we're doing rushing the football has to do with the experience that we have on that offensive line, who, if you remember last year, there were times when we were as explosive as anybody on offense with Kaiser. Deshaun Kaiser at quarterback. But we were sort of up and down. We weren't consistent, but there were times when we were one of the most explosive offenses in all of the country. And that offensive line got a lot of experience, got a lot of playing time last year. And so they're all back now, and they're playing good football.
Absolutely. Some stats I want to rattle off about that offense and offensive line particularly. So, like you said, they had over 400 yards rushing, 422 to be exact on 44 rushes, which is a 9.6-yard average. Tony, that's the first
Unbelievable.
That's outstanding. So, and that's actually almost more than the average per catch that we had, which was 10.8. So, the rushing attack was outstanding, and we got to credit obviously those three rushers, but more importantly, that the big guys up front, McGlinchey and those guys that open up the holes. It seemed like they were overall pretty good when it comes to communication and just staying on their block. So I'm very proud of the offensive line.
Definitely. You know, they got a lot of experience last year. They had a lot of playing time last year. You mentioned McGlinchey. What is he, 6'8", 315. And they had some other guys on that offensive line. What's the guy's name? Quentin Brown, who was a 5-star recruit, 6'5", 330, NFL prospect. They have a very good offensive line this year, and I think that's going to be the determining factor as to how far we go this year. If they hold up, if they can stay healthy, they can beat anybody. We can beat anybody. We can move the ball on anybody. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And so you referred to Quentin Nelson, the left guard there, and then a couple other guys, Alex Bars and those other guys. Those four entered the season with a combined 75 starts from last year. So,
wow.
I mean, they got that experience, like you said, which makes things a whole lot better for that first start for Brandon Wimbush and then those other guys in the backfield. So, awesome job.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know, I heard Deshaun Kaiser, he had a quote the other day. He was talking about the Notre Dame offense, the guys that he left behind, and he felt like the experience offensive line is going to be a big help. And now that they're healthy, the running backs. I tell you what, Josh Adams looked the best that I've seen him look as a running back. His quickness, his explosion. Last week was the best that I've seen of him. And I've always liked Dexter Williams. I think Dexter Williams is a game breaker. And with those guys rotating in and out, they're staying fresh. The competition is always a good thing. And with those guys competing against one another and staying fresh, should be a big year for them.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on Josh Adams there. Like you said, he looks like he has dedicated himself to the weight room and to that conditioning program, and he looks a whole lot better. He's chiseled out some, and he's done an excellent job that offseason. Obviously, the way he ran the ball, he's running a little high in my opinion, but I think so far it's worked pretty well with those open holes by the line. But he's done an awesome job.
No doubt about it. And I hear that Josh had a hamstring problem last year. It was something that lingered on the whole season with him, and I can see where that could really affect your mobility as a tailback. But right now, I tell you, he looks like the quickness is there, the explosion. I just hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen it from him, and it's good to see now. And I think Dexter Williams is going to push him, and when those guys get their opportunities, they just shine.
Yeah, and something I want to touch on quickly here is when the score was 28-10, I believe, in the second quarter, they had a couple 3-and-outs, the offense did, and it looked like they were struggling for a second. It looked like they kind of got off the beaten path there, and just, Temple did a nice job. I'll give them credit as well, kind of figuring out what was going on. But the greatest thing is that they persevered, and they went out and scored 21 more points throughout the game, and that makes me happy that this group as an offensive unit can go in and maybe struggle a couple series and then bounce right back and figure it out and get back to scoring ways in which they did.
Right. And you know what? Deshaun Kaiser kind of made a point to mention that we have Brandon Wimbush has a really strong throwing arm. Deshaun Kaiser was saying that he can really throw that ball on a line for 80 yards. Really strong throwing arm. I don't think we got a chance to really see all of that. He rushed the football really well, but I'm interested to see if he can get that ball in there in tight coverage. But from what Kaiser was saying, he has a really strong throwing arm, and he has all the confidence in the world that he's going to have a big season, an All-American season this year. So that's good news.
The great thing that I don't know if it's the offensive system that they use or utilize, but Brandon Wimbush connected on 8 different receivers. I'm going to double-check that to make sure I'm correct on there. But he connected at least 7. He did 8 different receivers, and that's awesome. That's great flexibility within the system to throw to those multiple threats.
Right, to spread that ball around, definitely.
So let's, if you don't mind, let's jump to the defensive side. So they hold the Owls to essentially 16 points, in which most of those came in the first half. So I was pretty proud of the defensive unit as a whole. And there were times where they gave up some plays, but they bounced back, and I know a lot of people say they bend but don't break defense, and they bent sometimes. Right. They didn't break for sure.
You know what, Josh? And it's kind of a funny thing, but last year when I used to watch our defense, it just seemed like any running back they faced always seemed to have career days against us. Any quarterback we faced seemed to have all day throwing the football and would have career days against us. No matter who it was that we faced, they always had their best game against us, which is not saying a lot for our defense. I didn't get that feeling last week. I felt like our defense was putting pressure on the quarterback, and I felt like they were flying around and they were hitting people. And that's the kind of Notre Dame football that I'm used to seeing on defense. So that's a good thing. I think our defense is the changes that have been made in the defensive coaching staffs. The personnel is out there. They're out there playing good football right now.
Yeah, and what I loved about this past game is they actually were able to record a couple sacks, actually 3 for exact. So they had 3 sacks, and last year it took several games to just get the first sack. And
oh, yeah. It was unbelievable. I mean, the quarterback had all day to just sit back there and go to his third and his fourth receivers, and, I mean, he could scramble out. I mean, it was unbelievable the kind of productivity any quarterback that we played against would have against our defense. And the running backs, they were doing the same thing.
Yeah, and to add to that, those 3 sacks, we had 4 QB hurries. So, 7 times where the quarterback was threatened and on the passing game, and I like that. I like that to increase and be more active, and the good things will happen, not only sacks, but interceptions, tip balls, incompletions, all the above to get the ball back to the offense. So very, very proud of that defense, the way they acted. Niles Morgan led the defense with 8 tackles, and then a couple guys, Coney and Martini, both had 6 total each. So they did a nice job total with overall defense and how they played with an attitude.
And it should help with the offense being as explosive as it looks like we're going to be. It'll give the defense some time to rest. It'll keep them off the field, give them a chance to rest up, and then when they are called on out there on defense, they're rested and they can go play all-out football. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to have on both sides, the rest and then the ability to be on offense for a while and control that possession, time of possession. That's an awesome thing. So
most definitely. You know what? And I have to give Coach Kelly credit. The changes that he's made this offseason with the coordinators and basically we have a whole new coaching staff except him, but I can see the improvement on the field with the way the guys are playing right now. And so at least for that first game, there was definitely a difference in the way the guys came out and played worry-free football and just getting after people the way Notre Dame has always played football. So that was good to see. Very encouraging.
Absolutely. And so some random stats here. So the Irish offense had over 600 yards of offense total, which is outstanding. And the defense held the rushing game to 2.3 yards per rush.
Wow, that's good. That's excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. And to go back to the offensive part, the red zone scoring was 100%, which is great. And then going to the defensive side of the red zone touchdowns, they held them to 50%, which is great as well. So very proud of overall team win, and I'm eager to talk about Georgia. What do you think?
It's going to be a big test. And you know what? I found out that the last time we played Georgia was over 30 years ago. It was in the Sugar Bowl. It was for the national championship, and I played in that game. That's the last time we played them. They had Herschel Walker, and we should have won that game, by the way. We had a good offense that year. They had a smaller, quicker defense, but I felt like we should have won that game. But Herschel Walker was a handful. He was tough to slow down that day, but they ended up beating us, and they won the national championship.
Yeah, I was actually going to lead into that, and I actually saw the year, and I kind of hope that you mentioned that first because that's the game that you played in, which is outstanding. Yeah, it was a 17-10 score. Georgia won the Sugar Bowl there. You guys were ranked number 7. They were ranked number 1, and Can you kind of enlighten us a little bit on what happened during that game? Give us some certain plays or some things you remember.
Yeah. What I remember about that game, most of all, I remember we had a great defense that year. We had Bob Crable. We had one of the top-ranked defenses. And Dave Duerson and Stacy Torn, man, they were coming up and they were laying the wood on Herschel. But the guy's a tough back. He may be the best college running back of all time, to be honest with you. And he wound up, I think they knocked him out of the game early in the game with a shoulder injury. I believe it was Dave Duerson that knocked him out. But he ended up coming back, and I remember him diving over a pile at the end zone. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody jump that high to go over a pile to score. But he was an unbelievable athlete, and that's the reason why they won that game. But I thought they were smaller on defense, and I thought that we should have been able to take advantage of that a little more so on the offensive side of the ball. But we didn't, and they won the game. We had a great time down there in New Orleans. Had a great time. We stayed down there for about a week and had a wonderful time, though.
That's awesome. Sounds like a great time, and we flash forward to about 36 years, and we have this matchup, Georgia coming up to Notre Dame to play home game, second home game of the season this Saturday, the 9th of September at 7:30. NBC will be covering that, but both of us are ranked now, so number 15 Georgia, number 24 for the Irish, and got a lot.
So we're in the top 25 now. That's good. That's great.
Yeah. We peeked in there a little bit, number 24. So, what do you think about this matchup here, as far as offense, defense, special teams, coaches, even some great coaches in this matchup? But what are your thoughts, Tony?
Well, I think they have a young quarterback. I believe he's a true freshman. He was forced into duty last week because the starter was hurt, had a knee injury, so he was forced into duty last week for Georgia. So I think it's a great opportunity for Notre Dame to harass him a little bit. A freshman quarterback, he's playing on a big stage, nationally televised game against Notre Dame, at Notre Dame. Let's put some pressure on this guy. Last year we didn't do that. I thought last year quarterbacks could sit back there all day, whether they were freshmen or whatever. They really didn't have any fear of the pass rush. And I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think we'll get after him, and we'll make life difficult for him. And with him being a freshman right now, I think that's to our advantage. And we need to capitalize on that.
I totally agree. And going to the coaches are part of this game. Coach Kelly, we know his pedigree and where he's been successful and whatnot. But Georgia also has a former assistant, Nick Saban, down there being the head coach and changing things around and trying to make them very successful. And so, having two coaches with these type of pedigrees and the backgrounds that they have and their abilities and coaching and their assistants, obviously, I don't think this game's going to be in my opinion, any stretch of a blowout. Could it be a high-scoring game? Possibly. Just depends on how we approach this game, which I think, as far as the Temple game, they came in focused and locked and ready to go as a unit for sure. So,
yeah. Anytime you play an SEC team, you're going to be playing a good team, no doubt about it. There's so much talent. They recruit in so much good talent down there, and all you have to do is look at the rosters in the NFL on Sundays, and you'll see Georgia players lined up and down NFL rosters. So they'll be talented. They'll be good football players, and Georgia will be a good team. But I think Notre Dame's a good team this year. I think Notre Dame has made a lot of changes, and I would say the big advantage that we have going into this thing, even though both quarterbacks are young, Georgia's quarterback is a true freshman, I believe, and I think we'll take advantage of that and capitalize on that, and just keep them off balance, keep their offense off the field, and take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's pretty key on the defensive side is putting that pass rush on the quarterback, the young, inexperienced one. And those guys, as far as the linebackers are concerned, they need to make sure that that running game, along with the defensive lineman, is taken care of, so things can get stopped quickly and get that ball back to the offense. I think games like this, because we come into two opponents who are ranked now, it's pretty early in the season, and we expect some big things out of them. I think the small things are going to be very important, like turnovers and special teams and field position, things like that. I think
right.
With games like this early in the season, because they're going to find out what have they worked on, what do they need to work on, and how to be successful in game 2 already.
Yeah, it's going to be key that we stop Nick Chubb, the running back from Georgia. He's a good player. He's a good football player, and if we're going to put pressure on that quarterback, the freshman quarterback, it's going to be important that we shut down Nick Chubb as well. So
I couldn't agree more with that. And Nick Chubb, he was a Heisman specialist, or one that they thought was going to be in the running, and he got injured, of course. But he's back, he's ready to roll, and I think that the idea is if you stop him as a defense, you win this game, in my opinion, if you take care of him and make sure he doesn't have any big plays and just stay efficient with that 2.3-yard average, or at least close to it, because they'll
right.
give up some, but because this guy's an outstanding rusher. So
he's a good player, and he's played against good competition in that the SEC. But I think that's going to be key for us to shut him down, really limit what he does rushing the football. Therefore, putting the pressure on that freshman quarterback, Jake Fromm, putting pressure on him and making him have to pass the football in order to win. And I think that'll put us in a really good position to take the game.
And offensively with this game, I know it's easy to say continue what you're doing, but I think that's what they have to do. I think you have the three-headed monster in the backfield, and if you can get those guys touches and that line continues to be consistent with their communication and the way they're blocking, and Brandon has to throw the ball sometime, and he's got to continue to be consistent with multiple people, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I tell you, I've always felt that you win or lose ball games, it all starts right there at the front, at the offensive and defensive lines. You win or lose based on who wins or loses the battle right there in that the front four or the front line. And I think Notre Dame has the size, the experience, and the talent to compete with anybody this year on that offensive line. And with the running backs playing the way they're playing right now, they look quick, they look explosive, and I just think it's going to be a tough match. It's going to be a tough match for Georgia if that offensive line is playing the way they're capable of playing, and with those backs running the way they're capable of running. I give us the advantage. I think we're in good shape going into this one.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is the 3 toughest picks for this week. Kind of rehash what happened last week. Tony ended up 2-1. Virginia Tech won that last game. He had the first 2 correct, and unfortunately, I did the opposite. I went 1-2. So Tony's got it. You got an early lead on me, so hopefully I can get that back this week.
Here we go again.
All right, so first game for 3 toughest picks, number 13 Auburn at number 3 Clemson. So what do you think, Tony?
Wow. Clemson at home. Man, they're tough to beat. I'll take Clemson at home.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Clemson. I don't really know this Auburn team that well yet, and I'm unsure how the whole SEC will pan out. I'm not like I said, I know Alabama pretty well. I watched them play last week. Not sure how Auburn's going to pan out, but I can't go wrong with Clemson in my opinion. So
yeah, I played at Clemson one time. I think it was my freshman year maybe. And I tell you what, I still see all the orange. I've never seen so much orange in my life. And they really love football down there. And when they're at home, they're a different beast. So I would have to go with Clemson.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the second game. This is a huge game in my opinion. Two top 5 teams in the nation. Number 5, Oklahoma, traveling over to Columbus, Ohio against the Buckeyes, the number 2 ranked Buckeyes. I'm going to go ahead and go first this time. It's going to be tough to beat Urban Meyer and his team at home, no matter how high you're ranked, no matter how good you are. He seems to get it done. I'm going to go ahead and check in with Ohio State.
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you there, Josh, because Ohio State's loaded year in and year out. They just there's so many good athletes, and they seem to pick up their running game. I watched a little bit of that game last week, and they seem to kind of right the ship. They were having a tough time in that first half, but they seem to kind of pull things together, and I like Ohio State too.
I'm going to touch on something for just a second about Urban Meyer. I don't know if you heard this, Tony, or even the listeners. You may have heard this in the news. So Tom Herman, the new coach at Texas, which was an assistant to Urban Meyer back in the day. So Tom Herman made the comment basically along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing this, is you can't basically change a culture in 9 months and make them to a winning program right away, because Texas ended up losing a high-scoring game to Maryland at home, so they lost a home game. And Urban Meyer kind of went back at him in the media and said there's no excuse for essentially calling out. He basically said that they're not my players, and I'm going to paraphrase. I'm not saying exactly what he said, but essentially he just said that those aren't my players, and you can't change a program around that early. And Urban Meyer said, that's ridiculous. You sign up for the job. Those are your players because you took the contract. You have your staff there that you chose, and you need to do some work. And Urban Meyer was very bold about that, and I totally agree with Urban. And he said that was kind of a new generation coach type of attitude, and saying that they're not my players.
Right. You never heard coaches say that when they come in there. I mean, once you take the job, those are your players, and it's up to you to get them to play the type of football that you want them to play. So that's you don't hear that very often coming from an incoming coach.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that because that's just something that I think is so true. You have a lot of new coaches out there, new head coaches that come out and kind of give it the excuse of why they lost because they're not your players. If I'm a player in that team, I'm going to take that to heart and be a little upset about that and kind of talk to the, hey coach, what are you doing? What are you?
Oh yeah, I would definitely take that personally, definitely.
So anyway, moving on, going to the last game here, 3 toughest picks. We have a Pac-12 game. A big one. It's huge. Number 14, Stanford at number 6, USC. I'm going to let you go first, Tony.
Stanford at USC. Okay, USC's got a tough team this year. We're going to have our hands full against them. I'm going to have to go with USC at home because they know that they need to win at home in L.A. to keep everybody's attention in Los Angeles. So I'm going to say they're going to show up and beat the Cardinals at home, USC.
Okay, so you took USC. I'm a huge fan of David Shaw and what he does and what he means and what he stands for. And he was a assistant coach to Jim Harbaugh, kind of taking that program and just kept it steady along, top 25 rankings all the time. And so I'm going to take Stanford in this game right here going.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I got to get a win back, hopefully, in that case. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But so upset of the week. We're 1 week into the college football season, and I'm choosing a big one. and it's just a random one. I just go through the schedule and kind of look at who's playing who's ranked and who's not, and kind of guess here. And this is kind of an in-state rivalry, so that's why I'm doing it. Pittsburgh is going to go on the road and beat Penn State, who's number 4 in the nation, and beat them at Penn State. You heard it here first, folks. Pittsburgh's going to go on the road and beat Penn State, in my opinion.
Oh, no. I like Penn State. Man, that guy's done an unbelievable job at Penn State because that program, it could go either way. Because once the guy left and went to Houston, it could go either way. But the new guy came in, and he really, they're playing good football. They're playing really good football. And I would have to say Penn State, and that's in State Park, right? That's at Penn State, right?
Yeah, that's at Penn State. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I would have to go with Penn State on that one.
All right, deal. That's fine. Okay, so hopefully we're going to agree on this next segment. Irish prediction here, probably our favorite part of the show. I'm going to let you go first. You go ahead and give your prediction, and then I'm going to go ahead and give mine.
I am going to say the Irish is going to keep the offense going again. I'm going to say we're going to score 35 points this week. And I think the defense is going to hold. And I'm going to give 35-14. Notre Dame wins.
Nice. Wow, in my opinion, that's a kind of a blowout, and I hope that happens. That's something
I think they're going to put pressure on that freshman quarterback, and I think Notre Dame's going to shut down the run.
Oh man, I can't wait. I'm excited now. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear out of somebody, especially an Irish fan. I'm gonna, man, wow. I don't know if I can go any better than that. Let's go 38 and 38 for Notre Dame. And I think Georgia's going to score a couple touchdowns, maybe a little bit more than that. So I'm going to say 38-21. Notre Dame's going to take care of them. So that's my prediction. We both have them winning by a pretty decent amount. So hopefully those things turn out the way we want them to.
All right. Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. 7:30 tomorrow night, NBC.
Yes, sir. So the kind of a fun fact for the finish here, the last small segment. This is the first time since 2005, Tony, that an SEC team has visited Notre Dame, and in which this case it was the Tennessee Volunteers on November 5th, 2005, and they beat the Volunteers 42-21. So it's been over a decade since an SEC team has come to up to Notre Dame and played.
Wow. And that's great, though. I think it's great because it gives us a chance to see what I think is the strongest conference in the country right now. I think everybody agrees that the SEC probably is about the strongest conference in the country. And we'll get a chance to see how Notre Dame matches up against the teams from that conference. And Notre Dame has always taken on the best, and so we'll continue to do just that.
All right. Well, that wraps up our show for Irish Football Weekly this week. Don't forget to check out our website, thegruelingtruth.net, which has tons of different shows besides just ours, Tony and ours. We actually have our own shows. Mine's called The Real Deal. He has an LA Rams show as well, so that's coming up soon when they start the season. But go ahead and listen to all the different types of shows on there. Like I said, thegruelingtruth.net, and there are other medias out there that we are on as well. Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio. There's an app out there now, The Grueling Truth, for iPhone. So if you go to the App Store, check that out as well. And you got opportunity to listen to the shows on there as well. So that concludes our show for Irish Football Weekly today. For my co-host, Tony Hunter, I am Josh Benjamin signing off for Irish Football Weekly. Go Irish!
Go Irish!
Peace.